Japan voted best country in the world. Japan, one of the world's most literate and technically advanced nations, is an East Asian archipelago country made up of 4 primary islands and more than 6,800 others. While most of Japan is covered by mountains and heavily wooded areas, the country's people lead a distinctly urban lifestyle. Long culturally influenced by its neighbors, today the country blends its ancient traditions with aspects of Western life. Best countries around the world. The 25 best countries in the world. Countries with tech expertise. The country can trace its political unification to the late 4th and early 5th centuries BC. Civilization flourished in the late 8th to the late 12th centuries, followed by even more centuries of military rule. The country was isolated from the early 1600s to the mid-19th century, at which point its ports opened up to the west. Japan had grand territorial ambitions in the 1900s, invading several countries, only to be defeated in World War II. Japan has a parliamentary government with a constitutional monarchy. The emperor still holds his title as a symbol of national unity, but elected politicians hold actual decision-making power. The nation with the 3rd largest economy in the world, Japan, has largely bounced back from the manufacturing disruption caused by the 2011 earthquake and tsunami disaster. The country is among the world's largest producers of motor vehicles, electronic equipment, and steel. The service sector makes up the highest percentage of the economy in terms of gross domestic product and employment. Japan is known worldwide for its traditional arts, including tea ceremonies, calligraphy, and flower arranging. The country has a legacy of distinctive gardens, sculpture, and poetry. Japan is home to more than a dozen UNESCO World Heritage Sites and is the birthplace of sushi, one of its most famous culinary exports. The country has developed many forms of martial arts. Its most famous traditional sport is sumo wrestling, which can trace its origins to the 8th century. Escalating tensions with North Korea over its nuclear missile program have caused some Japanese politicians to call for amending the country's post-war pacifist constitution. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's continued nuclear tests and threats in East Asia has led Tokyo to seek assurances from Washington that America is committed to its defense. Domestically, Japan grapples with the economic consequences of having the world's oldest population and declining birth rates. Wonder if fears of rice to hang beheaded about bear fruit. Prime Minister Abe is embodied. More than 190 countries participate in the emperor's coronation ceremony. And even the world's 3rd largest GDP nation will never be overpowering and will treat small nations carefully. A proverb that should be remembered now, and thanks to the ancestors of the past. This high reputation shows us that they were respectable persons, not persons who did cruel things like China communist and Korea blamed. It was proved that they had left that legacy. Remember that we have inherited it. The terms in this article that call the Sengoku period or the Edo period the period of samurai control can be misleading. For example, the Edo era was a peaceful era in which samurai took care of the people of the clan like a civil servant, and the economy flourished, laying the foundations of today's Japan with the development of civilian culture and civilization. It was an age like that. Tea and live flowers date back to the time of Hideyoshi. Jewelry and kabuki date back to the earlier days, and sculptures such as Anke and Kaige dates back to the Kamakura period. The world's oldest novel, The Tale of Genji, is 1008 in the Heian period. The basics of Japanese morals, such as the law-abiding spirit, such as talking to each other and defending what we have decided, have been cultivated over many years. There are Japanese today in such a flow as Prince Shotoku's Article 17 Constitution, samurai laws, and the Meiji Constitution. There are still considerable lies and misunderstandings that were taken and made after the war to contain Japan that was too strong. It was not a colonial policy of white powers who abused, enslaved locals and pursued only their own profits. Not only Japan and Japanese, it was to help East Asian brothers to protect and liberate themselves. It is the current Japanese as a result of the accumulation of such ancestors. The current Japan was never made of only the current generations. We must not be arrogant after we have won this evaluation. Appreciating to the people who voted Higali into the Japanese ancestors continuing from the Jomon period. And let's enjoy the happiness of the Japanese. Rome is not made in a day.